enemy will tell you you're trusting in God and look where it's getting you. Nowhere. You put your trust in him and he let you down. You should be mad at him, doubt him, walk away from him. But here's the clap back you can throw right back at the enemy. Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a little bit different than my normal videos, just because typically my video ideas come from my own quiet times and things that I'm learning. But today's video is actually inspired by my husband Tyler's quiet time. So I shared in my most recent vlog how we've been structuring our mornings so that we both get undivided time with God, even with having a little baby. I'll have that linked above if you want to check it out. But oftentimes we'll share anything that stood out to us in our Bible reading with each other over breakfast. And the other day, Tyler shared a thought with me from his quiet time that day that I honestly just have not been able to get out of my mind. It encouraged me, it challenged me, and so I want to share that thought with you as well. It has all to do with trusting God, and specifically what to do when you feel disappointed by God because you feel like you put your trust in him and he let you down. The text we're going to be looking at today is Matthew chapter 27. So before we get into it, if you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe to my channel. I make Christian faith and lifestyle content aimed at encouraging you to know God more through his word and to grow in his likeness, and I would love to have you here. And then give this video a thumbs up if you find it helpful or encouraging. What to do when you feel disappointed by God. Once again, the text we're going to be looking at is Matthew 27 verses 37 through 44. This passage is talking about the crucifixion of Jesus. Grab your Bible out, read along with me. I'm also going to have the text up on the screen. Here's what it says. And over his head they put the charge against him, which read, "This is Jesus, the King of the Jews." Then two robbers were crucified with him, one on the right and one on the left. And those who passed by derided him, wagging their heads and saying, "You who would destroy the temple and rebuild it in 3 days, save yourself. If you are the Son of God, come down from the cross." So also the chief priests with the scribes and elders mocked him, saying, "He saved others, he cannot save himself. He is the King of Israel. Let him come down now from the cross and we will believe in him. He trusts in God. Let God deliver him now if he desires him. For he said, 'I am the Son of God.'" And the robbers who were crucified with him also reviled him in the same way. Wow. First of all, if you have ever felt misunderstood, know that Jesus understands. Jesus here was misunderstood and mocked, but he didn't feel the need to explain himself or to defend himself. He simply trusted in God and faithfully walked in his purpose. Next, the first thing Tyler pointed out to me is how much irony there is here in this scene of Jesus's crucifixion. A couple things I want to point out in verse 42. As they're mocking Jesus, they say, "He saved others, he cannot save himself." The reality is that Jesus could have saved himself, but by choosing not to, by giving up his life as a ransom, he, in doing that, was actually saving so many more people on a much deeper eternal sense than anybody there could have ever realized in that moment. It's precisely because he did not save himself that he can save others. The next thing I want to point out, also in verse 42, they say, "He is the King of Israel. Let him come down now." So essentially they're saying if he's really king as he claims to be, then he would come off that cross right now. But the irony is, again, by choosing not to come down and by giving up his life, in that very act, he is actually establishing his eternal kingship and reign. And one last thing to point out in verse 42, they say, "And we will believe in him." So if he takes himself off the cross, we will believe in him. They're essentially saying if he is able to escape this difficult circumstance, then we will believe that he is actually God, like he's saying that he is. But in actuality, it was going through the circumstance, the cross, and defeating sin and death that many would come to believe. And I think it's so interesting pointing out all these ironies because it shows us that more was happening than meets the eye. Now, what does all this have to do with feeling disappointed by God, with putting your trust in him and feeling like he's let you down? To answer that question, I want to zoom in to verse 43, which says, again, talking about Jesus, he trusts in God. Let God deliver him now if he desires him. For he said, I am the Son of God. So essentially, these religious people are saying he's putting his trust in God, so let's see God come through for him and deliver him now. He says he's the Son of God, so let's see if God actually desires him like a son and saves him. And I have to ask, isn't that how we tend to view trust too? Oftentimes when we say we trust God, what we actually mean is that we trust him to change our circumstance. We trust him to bring about the outcome we are hoping for. We trust him to allow things to happen the way that we think they should. But what if we're getting the whole idea of trust entirely wrong? When the chief priests, elders, and scribes mocked Jesus, they said, he trusts in God, let God deliver him now. They thought the outcome of Jesus's trust in God should be escaping a horrible circumstance, crucifixion and death. But in actuality, it was because Jesus trusted in God that he was staying on the cross. The outcome of Jesus's trust in God was not escaping his circumstance, it was enduring his circumstance because he knew it served a greater purpose than what anyone could see in that immediate moment. When you're putting your trust in God and things don't go the way you hoped, the enemy will tell you you're trusting in God and look where it's getting you, nowhere. You put your trust in him and he let you down. You should be mad at him, doubt him, walk away from him. But here's the clap back you can throw right back at the enemy. Trusting in God is getting me exactly where I need to be because God has a bigger purpose in this than what I can see. Jesus' example of trust shows us that true trust in God isn't trusting God to change your circumstance or to make your life easy or to make things go the way that you want them to go, but rather true trust in God is trusting that whatever he allows you to go through has a greater purpose, and that trust gives you strength to endure. Convicting question for you and for me is your true trust in God. Sometimes I tell myself my true trust is in God, but in actuality, my trust is in my desire for God to make things go my way. And oftentimes when I feel disappointed by God, it's because my trust wasn't actually in his character. It was in what I hoped he would give me. And so when I feel disappointed by God, I need to ask him to help me to put my true trust in him, in his character and in his heart, even when I can't see his hand. I would love to hear from you down in the comments. What is something that you need to truly trust God with? I'm going to be sharing my answer to that in a pinned comment as well. I pray that this video is an encouragement to you, and I pray for you and for myself that we are able to truly put our true trust in God, in who he is, and our hope in him. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.